to my series. We are talking about working with AngularJS and SharePoint. We've done a few things, and one of the things that we've done in the last video is creating a autocomplete. We use W3 School's JavaScript file, and I implemented it. So if you click, you see it's grabbing all of these emails from a list. So if you haven't watched that video, please go back and watch it. And in this video, what we'll be talking about is cascading drop-down lists. So we're working with cascade drop-down lists. It's similar to like working with a database, and we are going to be having two drop-down lists, and they're going to be dependent on each other. So what we'll be doing is a one-to-many relationship. And to make this example, we're going to be doing state and city. So what I've done on my environment, I have created a list that has a city and state. And the other list that I created is called the state. So to get started, let's create on our HTML, let's create our two fields. So we'll create our state first. So what we're going to do is copy this. We'll copy this information to create our city drop-down list. So let's refresh our page. You see we have nothing in here. So to get started on our JS file, let's go in here and we're going to create a function. So we need a function to grab the information from this list that we have in our site settings, in our site contents. So here's our function, and we will create an array where we want all the state to be captured. And we'll be using the HTTP service to do this. Again, I'm going to copy. And we know that the name of our list that we're going to copy this information from is called state, as you see here. And let's call our function. Open up our developer tool. Let's do a hard refresh and see what we get. So we are returning it. And again, we have the information here. So it's not a complete, as you see, it has 46. So since we have our information, we're able to get it. Let's comment this out. And we're basically doing the same thing that we've been doing. Nothing really special. We're going to be saving the results inside of our variable here. And then we're going to do a loop through it like we did before. And let's see what we have. I think we probably missed something. We need to do some Angular stuff, which is getting the information from the scope. So to do this, you would need to let's make sure this is an ng model right here. And this is going to be so ng model we'll make this the selected state. So we will need to do a ng options on here to grab our information from the array that we have created. So we do an ng options in, say, item for item in the state. And this state is referring to the array that we have created here. And since all the information is being pushed, so it would have all of it here. So we're capturing all that. So I spelled this wrong. It needs to be ng options. So let's do this one more time. Let's refresh the page. And there you go. So we have all the information here. So it's not in alphabetical order. What we can do in our JavaScript file is we can just sort the order using a query here. So what we'll do is we'll do, let's see, question mark, and we do the order by the title. So let's save that and let's refresh it one more time. And there we go. So now how do we get this information right, the city? So what we need to do is once this is clicked, that it will grab the information that we need from our city and state. And once it sees that it's the same, it will find out what the state is, what the city is. So going back to our JavaScript file, first let's just make this a named immediate function, immediate evoking function. So let's do that. Okay, still working. So in our HTML file, we want to invoke a function. So what we'll do is we'll do an put an ng change on this element, and we'll just call it get city. Let's save this. So going back to our JS file, let's create that function. And just going back here, one other thing that we forgot to do is we need to pass a parameter to it. So we need to say the selected state. So we're passing whatever is selected here so that we can have access to that information in our JavaScript file in this function, and so we can do our comparison. So now we create an array for the city. And just to make this easier and faster, let's just copy this and put this here. We'll change this to city. These are pretty much the same. And the only thing that we're going to change here is we do need to put so we'll put a state, we'll call it state param. So what we'll do is we'll do a comparison. We'll do if the results. So we're saying if it's the same as this, whatever is passed, whatever state is passed, if it's the same as what's in this other list, let's push the title that we have here inside of our city array. So we'll save that, and let's go back to our city element over here. And the change we'll have to do is similar to what we've done, which is the ng option. So we'll just do the similar stuff, which is ng model, and say selected city. And we do the ng options as well. So what we didn't do correctly is we need to call the correct correct list. So once we save that, going back here, let's do a hard refresh. And here we see that, like I said, it's not a complete list, but whatever we select, you see that it's cascading. So there you have it, how to do a cascading drop-down list. Well, as you see, we have two functions. The first function, it gets the information. It does a self-invoking immediate function, which grabs the state, and then in our ng change, it provides the information of what was selected and pushes it as a parameter to get the city, and so we can do a comparison, and it calls this function, and we're doing HTTP. We get the response, we do a loop, and we compare to see if in our response if there's anything that is the state, and it compares it with whatever was passed in the parameter, and then we push all that information inside of the city.